Are you ready for the best damn radio show on the planet? Man Hour Nation, rise up.
You know on the beat every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that while I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know who's coming to the stage. Sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the core. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, still listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Starts like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're After Dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches, won't cut short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzz beaters. We coming live all through your speakers, go.
And welcome to the best damn sports radio show on the planet. This is Man Hour. I'm your host, BC Beastie Brandon Combs. If you have not yet done so, please click like, share, and subscribe on whichever platform you're watching us on. If you're watching us on Roku TV and like what you see, head on over to youtube.com/Man Hour. You can subscribe for as little as $2.99 a month. Become a member of Man Hour Nation. You can comment in the little comment section there on YouTube as Rule the Jungle is in there picking on my overlay that I created last second while I was in a meeting at work and completely oversighted what teams were on the overlay. So apparently the Browns and the Saints are still in the playoffs. And yeah. But anyway, once you're a member, head on over to manhourradio.com, click on the merchandise tab, get yourself some hot Man Hour gear. We have hats, shirts, hoodies, joggers, phone cases, much, much, much more. Alpha Rob, I see in the comments what's going on, buddy. And now that I'm trying to pay the bills, let me introduce you. My co-host for the evening is none other than Wayne G. Wayne, what's going on, brother?
What's going on? Not too much. It's nice to be in high def while you're over there in like 420p.
420p? What's going on?
I don't know. You're a little bit blurry.
Oh, man. It looks good on my end.
All right.
I don't know what's going on. If it's on YouTube, if it looks blurry, let me know. I will try to figure out what's going on. Maybe some internet issues or something. But hey, if it looks blurry, I'll try to fix it. But anyway, Wayne, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you at?
So I do a show called Recasted 2.0. You can check us out on every social media platform. On Twitter, we are at Recasted Podcast. On Facebook, at Recasted Podcast. Join our Facebook group, All Things Movies, and talk all things movies, so to say. And check us out on Good Pods and give us 5 stars for every episode. And just check Recasted 2.0. We just did Ocean's 11. We're going to be doing Indiana Jones next.
All right. Perfect. That sounds like a lot of fun, man. Indiana Jones. Rule the Jungle says your internet sucks. All right. Well, I guess I will have to reset my router at some point. Either that or call Xfinity and tell them that their highest internet that they have needs to get better. I'm not sure. But we will take care of it. I did hear something say that the comments are turned off, but they're coming through just fine over here. So I'm not sure they're turned off. Maybe you just turned them off. Not sure what's going on. But at any rate, we've got a lot of stuff going on. We are going to get into the NFL picks. We are going to get into some over, under, and that's where the jungle says you must have been watching porn. I do that on my phone, not on my computer, because that way my wife don't. Oh shit, she's watching. Anyway,
It was nice to see you through the eyes of every girl who's ever slept with you.
It's true. It's true. I don't know if they have beer goggle vision though. I don't know. I don't know how that works. But at any rate, we're going to get into NFL picks. We're going to get into some over under. But first, we want to get into some headlines. And I don't know if anybody has heard about this. I'm sure you have. If you are into sports, you're watching, you're looking on ESPN, all that other good stuff. But Chiefs linebacker, I forget his first name here. Is that Rudy Gay? Willie Gay.
Rudy Gay is a basketball player from UConn.
Oh, yeah. There you go. He, what the hell is going on? I got music playing in my ears now and everything. Man, tonight, it is not starting off to be a good show right now. I don't know what's going on. I apologize. Technical difficulties. But anyway, he's arrested for destruction of properties, visiting his son. And in the course of the altercation, Somehow her vacuum gets broken. And apparently that warranted a call to the police, and he gets arrested for destruction of property. Should this even be a story?
Well, it is because obviously we're in the playoffs. The Chiefs are in the playoffs. They're going into the divisional round. So it's kind of a big deal because of the timing. I think if this happens week 2, probably not a big deal, or going into a bye week or something like that, or definitely in the offseason, it's not a big story. The thing is, listen, obviously from a criminal standpoint, it's not theft, it's not violence, it's not murder, it's not DUI, but it is still a crime. He's still committed a crime. He's probably going to get slapped with a fine, right, for violating the personal conduct policy or whatnot.
But did he commit a crime though? Like,
Well,
how do we know how do we know how the vacuum got broken? Like, Rule of the Jungle here says he tripped over the vacuum. If he tripped over the vacuum, like, is that really a crime? Like, how did the vacuum get broken? Was she mad because he tried to vacuum her floor because it looked like crap and his son lives in the house and she just ripped the cord out of the wall and that broke the vacuum? Like, how do we know how the vacuum got broken?
None of that matters. This is the NFL. Once an arrest has been made, the penalties and the fines come down.
What do you mean it doesn't? The NFL we're talking about the NFL that allows guys who hit women, that allows guys who beat their kids bloody with a switch in the genitalia area, that allows guys who have DUIs on Monday to play on Saturday. This man broke a vacuum.
Yeah, and all of those guys, with the exception of maybe the DUI you mentioned, all of those guys got suspended before a trial was ever heard because the NFL is quick to react when there's a personal conduct issue. Now, that said, I'm going to say this about Willie Gay Jr. So those of you who don't know, he should have been a first-round pick in the NFL draft. He wasn't because he had personal conduct issues in college. He was suspended for 8 games his junior year for academic fraud and for beating up another player right before a bowl game. So he's got some baggage. And to me, what baffles my mind is how these guys go into these situations. I don't care if your wife or ex-wife or girl, whoever it is, if she says, hey, I'm screwing your friend and you're never going to be allowed to see your kid ever again, just walk out. You're a multimillionaire. Just walk out. Don't let her take any of that money. Just say bye.
Look, I'm going to tell you right now, all right? If that ever happened to me, I would definitely break something that was not the vacuum. Because, I mean, look, you don't break the vacuum because you're a man. That's not a thing. And not only that, but just go on Amazon, $70, get her a brand new vacuum. Like, why? How is this even a misdemeanor? I don't understand. It's a vacuum cleaner.
It's destruction of personal property. You're not allowed to do that if it's not your property. You can destroy your personal property all you want, but if it's somebody else's personal property, it doesn't matter whether it's $1. It's
what if he bought her the
it's
vacuum?
her thing. It's her. It doesn't matter. It's hers. If you buy somebody a diamond ring and then you break up and you go and you take it back, you just committed larceny. You're not allowed to do that. It's theirs.
Man. Huh. That's look, I guess it's just one of those interesting ways to look at. I don't see this as a story. This is a non-story to me. I there's not going to be anything that comes of it. It's a misdemeanor. He broke a vacuum. To me, it's more of a comical story than it is a, hey, look at this dipshit story. It's I don't know. It's not going to be an issue. Nothing's going to happen to him. Chiefs aren't going to suspend him. The NFL is not going to suspend him. Nothing's going to happen. He might have to buy a vacuum.
He's going to get a fine.
Yeah.
Unless he drops the charges before the NFL decides to review it. But otherwise, he's going to have to pay a fine. He's not going to miss any games.
How many vacuums is his fine going to be worth? Well, uh-oh. Oh, you went deaf again. Man, we are having all sorts of technical issues tonight. Wayne G, his mic apparently said stop talking.
There we go, Kim. All right. $25,000.
$25,000. So we're talking about roughly about 2,500 vacuums.
Yeah. And like I said, don't do it. No matter what color you're seeing, don't do it. And maybe it's just me because I have the ability to step out of myself from time to time and actually assess the situation. There's not a situation in my life where I feel like I would snap react to breaking things, no matter what was ever said or done. I'm very calm all the time.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't know. Havoc 6927 says, why is the graphic from playoffs matches? Because, all right. So since everybody is so worried about the damn graphic, Havoc 6927, I will tell you, I apologize. I was at work. I was in a meeting when I was making the graphics. Buck wanted me to get the graphics up so he could start making some of the polls for tonight, and that way he can also do some videos type stuff. Some of the editing that he does in the back scenes, even though he's not on the show right now. He wanted all that stuff ahead of time. I was at work. I had some extra time, so I tried doing it while I was at work. So I Googled a photo. I said, divisional photo, and I clicked on it, and I saw the teams that were in. I saw the Bills. I wasn't paying attention to the matchups. I wasn't paying attention. I saw the Rams versus the Packers. I don't know. It was an oversight on my part. We can call it clickbait. It was I was joking around earlier. I think Rule the Jungle had asked me. I was joking around. I said it was clickbait, but realistically, it was just an oversight on my part. I wasn't paying attention when I made the overlay, and it stuck. So, hey, it happens.
He was like, Giants 49ers. That'll be a good game.
As Rule the Jungle says, damn, where's Buck? He never messes up. That guy messes up everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. If he ever picks your team to be 11-5 and win their division, just know that your team's going to suck. Ask Detroit Lions fans if you don't believe me. All right, so moving on to the next thing we have here. So the Jacksonville Jaguars apparently are going to pass on Bill O'Brien. They are not going to hire the former Houston Texans head coach / GM. Is this a good move, Wayne?
I don't think it's a good move, nor is it necessarily a bad move. I think that Bill O'Brien could be a good head coach, especially in that situation, because he is a quarterback guru. I mean, you have to remember, he was the offensive coordinator for Tom Brady in New England. He went to Penn State, kind of turned that program around. He is the reason that Deshaun Watson is Deshaun Watson. In fact, Deshaun Watson was really angry when they fired him. Now you've got this young quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. He seems like the perfect fit as a head coach. Now, don't let him anywhere near the general manager's office. You don't want him trading half your team for a bag of balls. But but as a head coach, it's the Patino syndrome, right? Patino's a great basketball coach. He knows X's and O's as good as anybody. Just don't let him run your team.
Yeah, but look, Bill O'Brien got fired because he was an idiot. Bill O'Brien got fired because he said, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to trade DeAndre Hopkins, and we're going to go with our run game. We're going to trade off all of our good pieces, and we're going to have nothing to show for it in the end. And to say that he's the reason why Deshaun Watson's career took a turn. He's the reason why Deshaun Watson only was able to win 3 games in his last full season because he had no weapons. What Bill O'Brien did as a Houston Texans head coach / GM is something that maybe you're right. As I'm thinking about it, maybe you're right. Maybe he will be a good head coach, but he's not that guy that you can put a head coach / GM on their page. You know what I mean? Like you can't put him in that GM role and let him pick the players, let him have control over the roster. Maybe just as a head coach.
And most head coaches in this league don't have that power. Bill Belichick does. Obviously, he's earned it. Some guys do. Most guys do not have that. So I have no problem with bringing a guy like Bill O'Brien in to coach Jacksonville. I mean, I think Jacksonville would be ecstatic if they could get a guy like Josh McDaniels in there as the head coach. This is a guy who took Tim Tebow in the first round of the draft. Again, don't let him near your general manager office. Just let him call the X's and O's.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I saw what happened with Watson. I saw I don't even want to say regret because he was still playing at a high level. but I saw the way that it was handled. I saw some of the play calling. I saw some of the things that were done. I don't know that Bill O'Brien really needs to be a head coach, especially taking on another young quarterback. And then if you're going to put Bill O'Brien in an organization like the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have shown time and time and time again that they have no clue what's going on in the front office, much like my beloved Bears, like those are two front offices that are just inept at picking players, and to allow Bill O'Brien to come in and be your head coach, I just don't think it's going to be a good situation. I don't think there's really a good fit right now for Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien has to walk into a situation with a strong GM and with a strong ownership group. He's got to walk into a situation like the Indianapolis Colts, or he's got to walk into a situation like the maybe the Denver Broncos or something to that effect. He can't go into an organization like the Jacksonville Jaguars and succeed, if you ask me, in my opinion.
Well, it does depend on who their general manager pick is. And like, I agree that he needs a strong general manager there because he cannot do the job of that. But in terms of if I am a good general manager, I'm absolutely looking at Bill O'Brien to be the head coach because he reminds me of the offensive version of Robert Saleh, who I think is a really good coach. And he's got a lot of intensity and he brings a lot of positivity and energy. O'Brien does the same thing. If you watch him coach Houston, he's extremely energetic. And I think they did the Houston, he's in trouble. The behind the scenes.
Anyway, so the Jaguars are passing out on Bill O'Brien, and he's trying to do everything at once. You're not going to be able to do that with Bill O'Brien. There's a couple of spots where Bill O'Brien might be okay. Like I said, Indianapolis, Denver, a place where you're strong. Indianapolis is not looking for a head coach right now. Denver is. A couple other places that might be looking along the way. Definitely not the Las Vegas Raiders, even though that looks like it's Jim Harbaugh's job right now. I don't know where Bill O'Brien fits. To me, if I'm a fan of any team, I'm hoping I'm not looking at Bill O'Brien as my first choice.
I'd look at him and I'd look at him again for Jacksonville. I'd even look at him Dallas, right? I mean, get McCarthy out of there and put him in there. And you got a good GM in Dallas with Jerry Jones. I mean, you can say whatever you want about Jerry Jones being the owner / GM. Show me a bad draft pick he's made. Like, he does a really good job putting a team on the field. Yeah.
No, I don't know. I'm not a big Bill O'Brien guy. So speaking of not a big fan of a certain team, we got the Philadelphia Eagles, and they have already decided that they're sticking with Jalen Hurts in 2022. I don't think this is a good move. I don't like Jalen. I don't think Jalen Hurts is the answer for any team. I think Jalen Hurts is a very viable backup quarterback in this league. I don't think he's a starting quarterback in this league, and I definitely don't think he's a franchise quarterback in this league. He makes too many mistakes. He looks lost at times when he's in the huddle. Doesn't make good reads. I'm not a big. I said this the other night with Buck. To me, he's a glorified Mitch Trubisky. He's a glorified Mitch Trubisky that's a little bit more mobile. I don't see him as a starting quarterback in this league. What about you?
I love Jalen Hurts, and I liked him when he was at Alabama, and I loved him when he went to Oklahoma, and I like him now in the NFL. I think he's a great player. I think he's got a lot of potential. I think that it's funny because we talk about naming a guy a starter like 2 games after the season's ended, and it's strategic for sure. But here's the thing is that, do you think Zach Wilson's going to be the starter for the Jets next year?
Yes.
Do you think Trevor Lawrence is going to be the starter for the Jaguars?
Yeah.
Both those guys had worse years than Jalen Hurts. So, and he's only 1 year removed than them. He's in his second year. They're in their first year. So he's still a young guy. So he had a better season than 2 franchise quarterbacks. Give him another shot. Let him see how he does. Now, on the off chance you decide to trade for Deshaun Watson, because they have been kind of linked to that whole thing, you just named Jalen Hurts your starter. So that means that your price on Watson's gone down if you're Philadelphia. See what I'm saying? So there's no bad move to it. If you do keep him as a starter and you don't trade for Watson, he's got a lot of confidence going into next year. If you do trade for Watson, you're going to pay less for him because you've already named your starter.
Do you think that Watson is the only option? Is Watson the only guy you would bring in over Jalen Hurts?
He's the only legitimate option because you're not going to get Aaron Rodgers. He's not going there. So Russell Wilson's not going there. So those are the guys that you would put ahead of Jalen Hurts. But other than that, like, would I rather have Hurts or Cousins? I'd rather have Hurts.
If you ask me, their best option to replace Jalen Hurts is on their own roster, and that's Gardner Minshew.
If Hurts gets hurt. But
I think Gardner Minshew, if you give him the opportunity to win that starting job in the preseason, I think he can beat out Jalen Hurts for the starting job. I think Gardner Minshew's a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts.
He could still win it. I mean, just because you named Jalen Hurts the starter now doesn't mean that he could lose. He's not going to lose a quarterback competition. You could still have that competition. You're boosting his ego right now.
Yeah.
But I don't think Gardner Minshew wins that competition. I think that Jalen Hurts has more arm strength, and I think he's more mobile, and I think he just gives you more options.
And Rule the Jungle says Mitch is going back to Chicago or Philly. So let me touch on the first part of that. Mitch Trubisky is absolutely positively not coming back to Chicago. That's not going to happen. The fans don't like him. He doesn't like being here. He even said earlier in a press conference this year with the Buffalo Bills, it's nice to finally be on a team that actually wants me to be here. And he is not welcome in Chicago. We don't want him back in Chicago. He doesn't want to be back in Chicago. Philadelphia one is interesting to me, though.
Interesting is not a chance, because that's really interesting to me, too.
I mean, well, if you brought him in as a backup quarterback,
so third string,
and you allowed him to be a part of the quarterback competition, are you sold that Mitch Trubisky isn't a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts?
Yes. He's not better than Gardner Minshew. And if he thinks it was tough in Chicago, yeah, Philly fans are super sweet. They'll give you hugs and kisses every game.
It's true. That's true. All right, let's move on here. One of the things that you really wanted to get to, and this is something that I wanted to touch on as well, is Russell Westbrook got benched last night in a tight game by a head coach who has been rumored to be on his way out of Los Angeles. So this team's, one game under 500 right now?
Something like that. They're struggling.
And so now Russell Westbrook, who, look, for as talented as Russell Westbrook is, he's a diva, right? And he's one of those guys where if you hurt his feelings, it might be hard for him to come back from that. And I don't know how you hurt his feelings more than sitting him in the tight game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to like it. I understand it from a coaching standpoint, because Russ does play a little bit out of control. And, if you're playing out of control during the whole game and it's tight, you got to be like, listen, man, we need you to dial it back. Now, maybe he got a couple of warnings during the game and then just kept kind of going 100 miles an hour like he does. But if you're not going to dial back the throttle into second gear, then you're going to have to sit on the bench. I think my issue with it, and I mentioned this to you off the air, was that the story, the headline was that Vogel benches Westbrook, gets approval from management to do it. Like, yeah, they approved him to do it when they hired him as the head coach. That's a head coaching decision. Do you see Bill Belichick going up to Robert Kraft and be like, hey, is it okay if I call a passing play here? What do you think?
Look, yeah, you're right. The whole, he had approval from, ownership or front office to go ahead and bench Russ. Sure. Whatever that means. That doesn't make it any easier. I don't know what the situation was. I don't know what Russ said. I don't watch a ton of basketball. I have started to get back into it. I'm really interested in the Eastern Conference right now with the Bulls. I don't know what Westbrook did, why he sat him. Was he playing out of control? Like you said, he tends to play out of control. Did he do something? Did he mouth off? Did something happen that caused this benching? If so, then cool. I'm good with it. And whatever Westbrook's reaction is to it, then fine. If this was just a head coach with an axe to grind, then we might have to have a talk. And maybe this was his "hey, fire me" moment, right? Because we talk about "hey, fire me" moments. We talked about the guy, what's his face over there, and Mike McCarthy in Dallas with the "hey, this was absolutely the right play to run." Okay, cool. Tell me you want to get fired without telling me you want to get fired. And this is how you tell me you want to get fired without telling me you want to get fired, is you bench Russell Westbrook without having a damn good reason.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a fireable offense. I mean, again, Russ does tend to play out of control. Now, we talked about it, that he got permission from upper management in the team which I think Russell Westbrook mouthed off to the upper management because their name's LeBron James. And upper management, a.k.a. LeBron James, said it was okay to bench Russell Westbrook.
Yeah. And we got a poll going right now. It says, is Westbrook done in L.A.? No, Westbrook is not done in L.A. If anybody's done in L.A., it would be the head coach. They're not trading Westbrook. He's not going anywhere. And this team, what's going on with the L.A. Lakers? This team should not be a team that's playing one game under 500.
It's not put together well. And Russell Westbrook is going to get traded. And the reason he's going to get traded is because he does not mesh well with LeBron James. Both of them need the ball 50% of the game. Russell Westbrook has to play on a team where he can dominate the ball. He can't do that in LA because otherwise LeBron gets upset. And like I said, LeBron owns the team. So you got to put him on a team where he can kind of run the show.
Yeah, I don't know. They should be. A lot of people said the Bulls weren't put together well. And I mean, they've proven people wrong. I don't know. I don't know how you overcome it. I don't know how you get better. Maybe it is by trading Russell Westbrook. Who do you trade him for?
I think at this point you don't get a whole lot in return for him. I mean, maybe some veteran guy who is in his final run. I don't know. You're not going to get a Russell Westbrook caliber player for Russell Westbrook. You're getting pennies on the dollar for him.
Okay. Well, we're going to head to our first break, and when we come back, we are going to start getting into them playoff breakdowns. I see Rule the Jungle says the Bengals are going to win by 28. Well, stay with us here. We're going to get into that game here in just a few minutes. 2 minutes, we'll be right back. All right, and we are back. The chat is blowing up. I see Damian Justler's in the chat. What's going on, Damian? Rule the Jungle. Drew, I see my father-in-law, Leroy, was in there. Alpha Rob's out there. So a couple of things I want to get to, a couple of comments I want to get to here. Maybe you can address. It says, Kawhi turned down the Lakers and went to the Clippers to prove a point. He wants to be the best in L.A. Okay. Would you trade Westbrook for Kawhi?
Yeah, hands down. Yeah, but the question is, if you're the Clippers, how many first-round picks unprotected do you want to go with Russ? Like 12?
Yeah, I agree. Somebody else had said CP3.
I mean, I like CP3. I think he fits better with LeBron because he's a little bit more easygoing, but he's still ball dominant. I mean, you have to remember,
Yeah.
LeBron James is the point guard on the team. So bringing in a point guard who's ball dominant, it didn't work with Rajon Rondo. That's why they shipped him out. It's not going to work with Westbrook. That's why they're going to ship him out. Bringing in somebody like Chris Paul, and I love Chris Paul. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. It wouldn't work out.
So Rule of the Jungle says CP3 wanted out last season. If you offer Westbrook for him, it's a deal.
I don't know if it is. I mean, again, CP3 is at the end of his career. Russ is still young enough, but does Russ make that Phoenix team better than Chris Paul did? I don't know if he does. Obviously, I think he gets them in better shape.
Yeah. And Rule of the Jungle says Kawhi turned down the Lakers because of KD. He didn't want to be labeled as that guy.
I don't think Kawhi cares about labels. The guy sat out with the Spurs because his quad hurt for 80 games, even though the Spurs doctors cleared him after 10. So I don't think he cares about being that guy.
I agree. All right. So NFL playoffs, divisional round. We got 4 great games going on. This is going to be a wild weekend. I'm looking forward to all weekend. As a matter of fact, not only the football games, but also the UFC pay-per-view this weekend. I'm gonna be hyped for some sports this weekend. So don't call me Saturday after 4:00, and don't call me at all on Sunday because you will not be able to get me. Let's get to the first game, though. I want to get into this. Sorry, I lost my train of thought here. I want to get into this 49ers-Packers game. Probably, to me, one of the 2 teams Green Bay did not want to see in this divisional round. The other one is playing in Tampa, which is the Rams. But they did not want to see the San Francisco team. The San Francisco team put a beat down on them 2 years ago in the playoffs, went into Lambeau, smacked them around. Do you agree this is one of those teams that Green Bay did not want to see?
I do agree. It's the team that they least wanted to see. However, I think Tampa Bay was second and then the Rams were third. And the reason that I think that the 49ers are the team they least wanted to play is because the 49ers, not only do they play a style of football that is painful to the Packers, time possession football, run the ball football, and aggressive defense football, which Aaron Rodgers hates, right? Those 3 things are in the San Francisco's favor, but they're also coming in really hot. It reminds me of that 2008 Giants team that played the Patriots like to within a point or 3 points the last game of the season and then went on to win the Super Bowl. They're coming in really hot. I think nobody should want to play them right now.
Yeah, look, I don't think that this is a team they wanted to see because of the history with San Francisco. And it's not a very good history for the Green Bay Packers. San Francisco tends to have their number in the postseason. And I just think as that, they didn't want to see them. I don't think this team scares them as a team, though. I really don't. I don't think that Jimmy G, especially a hurt Jimmy G, who's going to be nursing a sore shoulder, who's going to be nursing a sore thumb, and it's going to be 1 degree at the start of kickoff. 1 degree at Lambeau Field at the start of kickoff. And we know with the wind and everything else, that puts everything into the pretty good negatives at Lambeau Field. And with a sore shoulder and a sore thumb, I'm not so sure how effective Jimmy G will be. I'm not so sure that we won't see Trey Lance by halftime.
I mean, only if Jimmy G gets hurt. Like you say, depending on how bad those injuries are, I don't think performance-wise Jimmy G gets benched at halftime. No way.
With those nagging injuries and that cold, I just don't know. I don't know how well Jimmy G is going to perform. Not only that, we've never seen Jimmy G play in cold weather. He started 68 games in the NFL. 0 of them have been in temperatures below 32 degrees. He has actually never started a game in the NFL below 40 degrees. And this is a different animal. I mean, this is Lambeau Field, and this is sub-zero temperatures. So I don't know how Jimmy G is going to perform. This is going to be a run-dominated game, I believe. I think it's going to be something, whether Aaron Jones gets it going or, whichever running back that San Francisco decides to give the ball to. I'm not so sure San Francisco can compete in this game. I don't know if this is going to be a close game. I really don't.
Really close. It's going to be a smash mouth game. Like you said, this is going to be a run game, and that's what San Francisco does really well is they run and they control the clock. Jimmy G doesn't throw a deep ball. He just throws timing patterns. So he throws, screens and bubble passes. So I think that this is perfect for San Francisco, and their defense is extremely physical. I mean, this is probably the most physical defense in the NFL. And I think they're going to put a hurting on that Packers offensive line.
Yeah, that Packers offensive line does not protect Aaron Rodgers very well. They haven't all season. They haven't for a couple of years, actually. It's been one of the biggest gripes for AR-12, but I don't know. It's just something in me. And trust me, I hope to God that I am wrong. But it's just something tells me that this is a Niners team that the Packers are not scared of. Is there any chance Aaron Rodgers doesn't want revenge for embarrassing loss from the 49ers a couple years ago?
So any other quarterback or most quarterbacks in the league, I would say they don't care because the reality of the situation is like you talked about, like the history between these two teams. Well, if I lost to the same team in 2020 and 2021, am I afraid of playing them in 2022? No, because I'm not playing them in 2022. I'm playing the 2022 team. So it's not the same team. So most quarterbacks look at it that way. Here's the thing about Aaron Rodgers. He's a narcissist. He is so full of himself that I'm sure he takes it personally that the 49ers beat them and he still remembers it because Tom Brady wouldn't even think about it. But let's face it, Aaron Rodgers is no Tom Brady. And yeah, I'm sure he's thinking about it. And I'm sure he's going to go out there and he's going to press to try to make it happen. And that's one of the reasons I think that he's going to have a hard time.
What is the matchup you're most looking forward to?
So the matchup I'm most looking forward to that I find the most intriguing, and I mentioned it earlier, is Green Bay's offensive line versus San Francisco's defense. Because like I said, that defense throws people around, and in cold weather, there's going to be a lot of hurt. And I don't know if Green Bay's offensive line is going to inflict any of it.
Yeah, for me, it's on the other side of the ball. I want to see Davante Adams going up against Emmanuel Moseley. I think that is the matchup that is most likely to happen. I believe they're going to have him covering Davante Adams as opposed to Josh Norman, who probably 4 years ago you would put Norman on him. I don't think you put Norman on him in this game. I think you put Moseley on him. Moseley is a hell of a cornerback. He's a shutdown corner, and I think that Adams is going to get the best of him. I think AR-12 is going to have a good day. And I think Davante Adams is going to have a career postseason game on Saturday night. So what is your key to a Packers victory?
Well, for starters, I want to say that I'm impressed that you said Davante Adams plays on the other side of the ball from the Green Bay offensive line. And the key for the Packers is going to be make Jimmy G air it out. Make him put up the ball 30, 35 times because that's an offense that is designed for him to throw 15 to 20 passes tops. And if you make Jimmy G throw the ball 30 times, I think the Packers win.
Well, Davante Adams doesn't play opposite of the offensive line, but Emmanuel Moseley does. And that was my matchup. So other side of the ball, Emmanuel Moseley versus Davante Adams. That's what I want to see. My key to victory for the Green Bay Packers is actually going to be the offensive line. Kind of along the same lines as you were. How well they protect Aaron Rodgers is going to be the key to this game. Give him time to throw the ball. Give him time to find open receivers. Give him time to do what Aaron Rodgers does best and attempt to pick that San Francisco defense apart. Attempt to get the ball to Davante Adams as much as possible. Put the ball in the hands of your playmakers, and you'll be good to go. What is your key to victory for the San Francisco 49ers?
Time of possession. You can't have any less than 39 minutes time of possession. Don't let the Packers get on the field. Don't let Aaron Rodgers do anything because he is still extremely dangerous. Keep him off the field doing what you do. Short passes and short run plays.
Yeah, mine is clock management as well. Clock management. My thing was, if you're going to play a close game, if you're going to keep this tight, you cannot allow Aaron Rodgers any time left on the clock to engineer a game-winning drive. Because if you are in a tight game, if you are in a one-score game with 35 seconds to go on the clock, Aaron Rodgers has shown that he can come back and beat you. If you're in a one-score game with 20 seconds to go on the clock, Aaron Rodgers has shown that he can come back and beat you. Do not give that man any time left on the clock. You have got to manage the clock, especially in crunch time, especially at the 2-minute warning. You cannot leave him any time. 2 quarterbacks in this league that you can leave 0 seconds on the clock for, otherwise they're going to beat you, and that's Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. So who you got winning the game, and what's the score?
49ers 16-10.
Wow. 49ers 16-10. I'm going Green Bay Packers. God, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. I'm going Green Bay Packers 24-13. I don't think that San Francisco can score enough to keep up with Green Bay. I think that Green Bay will give Aaron Rodgers the time that we were talking about. I think Devontae Adams is going to have a career game. I think the Packers put up 24-13.
Okay.
So we'll see who's right. You know, you picked a blowout last week, and I was all over you. I was laughing. And this is one of those games where I feel like I just don't think that the Niners have a chance, but I'm not going to laugh at you this time, because when I laughed at you last time, you were completely right. And so I'm not doing it this time. It's not going to happen.
You know what's so crazy is that people rejoice across the world when I'm wrong about something, and yet they only remember when I'm right. And I think that's why they rejoice so hard, because you have to remember, I also picked the Patriots to win, and they got beat by 30. So
that's true. Alpha Rob says 49ers are going to need their best pass rusher. Damian Dressler and Rule the Jungle are going back and forth about Bengals and Titans. We're going to get to that game here in a little bit as well. Rule says 49ers need to keep Rodgers off the field. No pass rush can stop him. I mean, there's a lot of pass rushes that can stop him. They've just got to get to him. That's going to be the key, getting to Rodgers. Then he said something, King Henry, who crowned that loser. These guys are going back and forth. Damian says Green Bay has all the same weapons as the Niners, but more. I agree. Alpha Rob says 27-17 Green Bay. I can see that as well. I don't see the Niners walking out of this one. Not in that. If it was warmer, I would give them a better shot, but I don't like warm weather teams in cold weather, for one. And I especially don't like a quarterback who's never played in a game that's below 40 degrees going into a game that's negative degrees, especially when that game is Lambeau Field against Aaron Rodgers.
yeah, well, you know, it's funny that it's Jimmy Garoppolo too, because you know who else had never won a game below 30 degrees? Tom Brady. And then he won a game that was below 30 degrees. And now he's the best cold weather quarterback of all time.
Tom Brady also played college football at Michigan, which played in cold weather, and he played most of his NFL career in New England. So it's a big difference, because he played a lot of cold weather games. Jimmy G has never played in a cold weather game in the NFL.
When he was playing in college?
Yeah.
So same thing as Tom Brady?
Because college football is over, especially at Eastern Illinois. It's over by October. There's no college football after October for Eastern Illinois.
Well, you just said Tom Brady's. So I'm saying, like, if both these guys played in the cold weather,
but Tom Brady played in Michigan. Michigan plays late into November and into December, and they play against all. You know,
the bowl games that they play though are like in warm weather stadiums.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like Jimmy G. I don't like warm weather teams coming into situations like this. We'll see. I mean, maybe I'm completely missing the boat on this. Maybe they'll show up and maybe they'll be better than advertised, but I just don't see it happening. So let's get into the next NFC matchup. And this one here is this one's going to be fun. This one is going to be one of those games that you look at and you might pick either one of these teams to go to the Super Bowl and represent the NFC. I think both of these teams know what it takes to beat Green Bay in Lambeau. I think both of these teams have the defenses that can do it, and I think both of these teams have the offenses that can absolutely get into a shootout with Green Bay. And that's Rams versus Buccaneers. Now, on the Buccaneers side, obviously there's been some headlines that are outside of the normal realm of playoff football, right? Because you have Bruce Arians getting fined for smacking his player on a helmet. Mm-hmm. Vince Lombardi's rolling over in his grave right now with what's going on in the NFL. A coach smacked his player on the helmet for making a stupid move, and he got fined by the NFL. Is this going to cause any dissension for the Buccaneers?
No, I don't think that anyone in the locker room really cares. And I'm glad I saw the video of it, because obviously the headline of Bruce Arians smacking a player on the helmet, I'm picturing face-to-face, open hand, hard smack across the side of the helmet, which I'm 100% against. I think that in the NFL, they're not players, they're employees. And I don't care where you work, employees are not allowed to get smacked across the head. Now, that said, though, when I saw the video, it looked like he kind of came up behind him, almost like shoved the back of his head, like, hey, to get his attention. It wasn't like a smack. It wasn't like a hard hit. So I don't think he should have been fined at all. It was no different than grabbing somebody's face mask and screaming at him.
Yeah, look, I am completely okay with what he did. If he was a peewee coach and that was my son doing that and he smacked him on the back of the helmet like that, I would have told my son, hey, look, you got to start listening. You got to be smarter than that. You got to do the things that the coach is teaching you how to do. I wouldn't be mad about it. I wouldn't ask him to speak with the coach. I wouldn't ask for the coach to be fine. He was a coach, and that's what he did. There's nothing wrong with it. It's called discipline. It's how you teach your players. And as soon as you watch the player, did the player even react negatively to that? No. The player kind of walked around and walked back into the pile and was helping his teammates as opposed to grabbing the opposing player out of the pile, which would have been a penalty, which is why he smacked the guy in the head. There's nothing wrong with it. People are just too soft nowadays. They want to, and for the NFL to fine him for this. Why are you even getting involved? Why are you getting involved in this?
Again, seeing the video, they shouldn't have, because again, it looked like just kind of like a shove to the back of the head. It was not a blow to the head, and that's my only thing is we talk about discipline and football, peewee, blah blah blah. I don't care if you're a coach at any level, you are not allowed to strike a player. Period. In the sense that, like I said, like an open hand across the side of the head, well, even if they're wearing a helmet. But a shove to the back of the head, like it really didn't look like he smacked him. It looked like a shove.
Yeah. I had no problem with it. I didn't think it was a smack. I didn't think it was a wake up call for the cornerback to say, hey, do what you're supposed to be doing. Don't be doing what you're not supposed to be doing, and get your head in the game. Because if you cost us points here and you let this team back into the game, there's going to be hell to pay. And there's nothing wrong with doing that as a head coach. Nothing wrong at all. So let me ask you this about the Los Angeles Rams. Now, a lot of people last week were saying that this was a prove-it game for Matthew Stafford. He needed to come in and he needed to prove that he could do something in the playoffs. This was his, sort of, coming out party, if you will, because all the times that he spent in Detroit, never really getting to prove anything in the postseason. And now he's getting a chance in the postseason, and he performed very well. Had a very good game. Now, going up against Tampa Bay, going up against Tom Brady, going to be the underdog. Not a lot of people are going to be picking your team to win this game. Does Matt Stafford need this win to cement his legacy?
No, not to cement it, because his legacy right now is a quarterback who played his career in a bad situation, and so we gave him a pass for not winning. And then he goes to LA, and that's why last week it's like, listen, man, now you've got all the weapons. You don't have any excuses. You have to win now. And he did. And now I think going up against the defending Super Bowl champions, the greatest quarterback of all time, I think if you lose this one, it's okay. Now, 5 years from now, probably not, because nobody's going to look back at it that way. They're just going to look and say, oh, look, you lost a playoff game. But we know that deep down, if you lose to Tom Brady and the defending Super Bowl champions, that's really not a bad loss. Like that can't be held against you.
Yeah, look, I am one of those guys who I've said it time and time and time again. You don't bet against Tom Brady in the postseason. You just don't do it, because every time you do, he proves you wrong. And if you're Matt Stafford and you're the Rams and you go into Tampa Bay and you lose a close game and you compete and it's everything that we expect this game to be, then yes. You're right. You don't need this win to cement your legacy. However, if you go in and you completely lay an egg, this could be the thing that kind of drops the hammer on whether you were a very good, underrated quarterback or if you were a great quarterback. And I don't know which way that's going to go this weekend. We're going to make our picks here in a minute. I just don't know that Matt Stafford could handle a deflating loss like that. A loss where he just goes out and, is 13 of 27 for, 140 yards and they lose the game 31-10. Like, I don't think that Matt Stafford could handle that. I think that that would really hurt him as a quarterback. I think it would hurt him as a person. And I just don't know if he'd be able to rebound from that.
I think he'd be fine. I mean, again, playing all those years in Detroit, not even making the playoffs, getting beaten to hell. I think that, he loves playing in LA right now. He's going to love playing in LA again next year as a starting quarterback. Maybe Tom Brady will retire in the offseason. You'll get another shot. But
yeah,
it is what it is. I think Matt Stafford's a first ballot Hall of Famer, no matter how you cut it. If he loses this game 50-0 and goes 0 for 27 with 5 picks, he's still a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Look, Matt Stafford to me is probably one of. Yeah, actually, I think he is the most underrated quarterback of all time. I really do, just because he was been hidden in Detroit, and a lot of people never really got to see the quarterback that Matt Stafford was, right? Like, as a Bears fan, having to see this guy twice a year, seeing some of the things that he's done. I mean, freaking the guy went in with a what the hell did he do? Like a broken neck or something, and went back in for one final play and throws a game-winning touchdown pass. Like, this guy is one of the toughest quarterbacks you'll ever see. But I'd hate to see him go down like that, and I'd hate to see what would happen if he did go down like that and wasn't able to handle it. So getting into this game, I wanted to, we keep talking about matchups. I think the matchup I'm most excited to see for this one is Aaron Donald versus Tom Brady. Does Aaron Donald eat Tom Brady? Like, it's this Tampa Bay Bucks offensive line prides itself on not letting Tom get touched. This Los Angeles Rams front seven prides itself on touching quarterbacks. And I don't know how that gets stopped. I think Aaron Donald is going to eat all day long, and I think Aaron Donald's going to wreak havoc on Tom Brady all game long. Tom Brady's going to have nightmares of Aaron Donald after this game.
See, I went a similar route. I said my favorite matchup, or the one I'm looking forward to the most, is Tom Brady versus the Rams defense, just because not only Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, that Rams defense is really tough. But yeah. Tom Brady's also a surgeon, and he's the greatest surgeon that we've ever seen operate. And he will find any receiver in any hole if there is one. So don't play man-to-man don't play zone against him, because if you play zone against Tom Brady, he's going to have 400 yards passing. So it'll be interesting. I don't care. I mean, Aaron Donald, Tom Brady has the quickest release in the NFL for a guy not named Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Jimmy G's got a little bit quicker release, but Tom Brady gets the ball out of there quick. And I don't think Aaron Donald, their offensive line does a good enough job, because all you got to do is give Tom Brady 2.5 seconds, 3 seconds. If you give him that, he's fine. Aaron Donald, we talk about eating. Aaron Donald's going to starve.
Ooh, all right. That's a bold prediction, because Aaron Donald usually does not starve. So we'll find out. What do you have for Rams' key to victory?
The Rams' key to victory, I have take away the 5 to 10 yard pass. Make Tom Brady throw the deep ball. He doesn't have a very strong arm, so make his receivers run deep. It was Bruce Arians loves to call those plays, but Tom just doesn't have the arm strength to be accurate out there. I think he completes like 30% of his passes that are past 25 yards. So if you take away those short passes, he'll kill you with those short passes. Make him throw it deep, and you win the game. Yeah,
for me, for the Buccaneers, it's going to be the offensive line. Can you as Wayne predicted, make Aaron Donald starve? Can you stop Von Miller from getting to Tom Brady? If you can keep Tom Brady protected all game long, you're going to win this game. And it might be close. It might be a shootout, might be a 34-31 type game, but you're going to win this game if you protect Tom, because he's going to be able to engineer that drive that wins the game. What about the Rams?
Well, you already asked me the Rams. That's what I just gave you. So I'll do the Bucks now, and then you can do the Rams.
Sorry.
The Bucks key to me is make Matt Stafford feel like he did in Detroit. Get all over him. Don't give him more than 2.5 seconds to throw the ball. He likes to stand in the pocket. Do not let him do that. Push him out of the pocket and hit him and drive him into the ground, and you're going to be fine.
Yeah, for me, the Rams' key to victory, as I'll go opposite of you now, the Rams' key to victory is going to be to get Cam Akers going. Establish that run game, which is going to open up a lot for your pass game. It's going to make Matt Stafford's life a hell of a lot easier if you can establish that run game early. That's going to be the key to victory for the Los Angeles Rams. What do you have for a winner, and what's the score?
The Bucks are going to win this one 27-17.
Wow. Look, I think that front seven of the Rams is just going to destroy the offensive line of the Buccaneers. I think that they are going to get to Tom Brady. I think they are going to make Tom Brady uncomfortable in the pocket, which is the key to beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think that the Rams win this one, and I think that the Rams win this one 34-24.
So we both have 10-point games.
We do, just opposite sides of the spectrum, just like we did in the first game. So we'll see. I mean, one of us is going to be really, really right, and one of us is going to be really, really wrong, or maybe we'll split them. Who knows? But we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to those NFC over-unders. If you are a betting person, you're going to want to stick around. We've got some over-unders here for you, some bets you can place. Stay with us. We'll be back 2 minutes. All right, welcome back to the best damn sports radio show on the planet. This is Man Hour. I am Brandon BC Beastie Combs, and this is Wayne G from the Recasted Pod. Wayne, 100% of the live viewers disagree with you. 100% of the live viewers picked the Rams in the vote online to win this game against the Buccaneers.
That's why the world celebrates when I get things wrong, because most of the time they pick against me and lose.
I think I said last week, actually, before the Rams Cardinals game, I said no matter who wins this game, I'm picking them against the Bucs because I think both of these teams are similar in style, and I think either one of them will beat the Buccaneers. I think that both of their front sevens were just going to wreak havoc with Tom Brady. So that's where I stuck with that one.
So you're just killing dead air when you said don't bet against Tom Brady in the playoffs.
No, so I usually don't bet against Tom Brady in the playoffs, but this is just one of those games where I just think that his team is not ready for what's coming to them. So, yeah, I went with it, and, we'll see. Is Tom Brady going to make me pay for betting against him, which he normally does? I guess we'll find out. But we're going to get some over-under here. Wayne, are you ready for some over-under?
I'm ready.
If you guys are betting people, well, guys and gals, if you guys like to bet, get your betting books out because we got some over-under here for you. All right, so first over-under that we have for tonight is 3.5 sacks for the Rams defense.
Yeah, and I think based on our last segment, I know how this is going to go, but I took the under. I would take the under 1.5 sacks with this offensive line because you talked about it yourself. The Buccaneers pride themselves on keeping Tom Brady upright. I don't know if there's another offensive line in the entire league who has a bigger big brother complex than the Bucs offensive line. They are not going to let them hit Tom Brady.
Yeah, look, I'm going under as well. That might surprise you. But I think that they're going to be right at 3 sacks. I don't think they're going to get to the 4th one. But I think the way that they're going to wreak havoc is they are just going to force Tom Brady to throw the ball away a lot. They're not going to let him have time to sit in the pocket. They're not going to allow him time to wait for his receivers to get open, and he's going to end up having to force some throws, throw him into the ground, throw him out of bounds, that sort of stuff. It's just going to be a very frustrating day. I just don't think they're going to sack him a whole lot. I say 3 sacks, which I guess technically, as I say, not a whole lot. I guess the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that's a lot of sacks.
I said look for Le'Veon Bell to have about 6 receptions if the Rams start bringing the heat.
Ooh. That's an interesting thought because Tom does love his running backs out of the backfield. All right, moving on. We're going to go 3.5 touchdown passes for Aaron Rodgers.
I'm going under. I've obviously got the 49ers winning 16-10, so I'll give them 1 touchdown pass. So obviously way under the 3.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go over here. I think he is going to be at 4 touchdown passes. I think that they are going to win this game. I had him at 34-24. And I think Devontae Adams, like I said, is going to have a career game. All 4 of those touchdown passes might be to Devontae Adams. So I'm going over. I'm going to put him at 4, and that's just where I'm at.
All right.
The next one we got here is 105 total yards for Deebo Samuel.
Nope. I'm going under on that as well. Like I said, Jimmy G is going to dink and dunk this whole game. They're going to control the clock. But Deebo Samuel, everyone knows about him. He's going to get the most attention. If I was going to go 100 yards for any receiver, it'd be Brandon Ayuk, because I think that Jimmy's going to look for him quite a bit. So I'm going under on the Deebo Samuel.
So the key here is I went total yards, and they love to run Deebo Samuel out of the backfield a lot. Not only that, he also does return kicks. So I think that Deebo Samuel is going to be over 100 yards, total yards. I think he's going to put a probably about, I would say 60 to 75 on the ground. I think he's probably going to put up about 50 to 60 receiving. And he's going to put up a bunch on the return game as long as they kick to him. And I think he's going to put up his yards. He's going to be able to eat. He's going to be the reason why they only lose by 10 and not by 30.
All right. Well, we'll see.
All right. The next one we got here, 295 passing yards for Tom Brady.
Take the over. He'll have over 300 yards in this game. He's just going to be the full offense. They might have 40 yards rushing, but he's probably going to have 335, 350 yards passing.
Yeah, I'm going under here. Again, I think it's going to be a very frustrating day for Tom Brady. I think that you're going to have a lot of short passes. Like you said, you might have a lot of passes coming out of the backfield as they can't really hold back the Rams' front seven. So you're going to see a lot of short yard gains. He might complete a lot of passes, but he's not going to have a ton of yards. Look for Tom Brady to be somewhere in about the 275 range here in this game. And the last one we have, and this is one of my keys to victory here for the Rams, over under 20 carries for Cam Akers.
Under, because the Bucs are going to go up 14-0 or 14-3, and the Rams are going to have to start passing, so they're going to abandon the run early.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over. I think that they're going to hand the ball off to him quite a bit to start the game to try to open things up for Matthew Stafford. I think that they'll be able to get some sort of a lead, and towards the end, they're going to want to run the ball a lot again to keep the ball out of the hands of Tom Brady. So I'm going over here. I think you're going to be looking at about 25 to 30 carries for Cam Akers in this game.
Man, I don't think you've seen enough Bucs games this year. That front line stuffs the run. Like every running back who plays against this Bucs team is basically 119-pound JV player because nobody can break through this line.
All right, we're gonna see how it goes. I'm going over with the carries. I don't know how much the yardage he's gonna get, but they're gonna have a lot of carries.
20 carries for 8 yards.
20 carries, 8 yards. Sounds like a Bears game. All right. So that's it for the NFC over-unders. Let's get into the AFC game, shall we?
Yeah, Bengals-Titans. Everyone's asking about it.
Yeah, Bengals-Titans. This one is huge in the chat. Rule the Jungle. I am assuming by the name you have, you are a Bengals fan, sir. So one of the things that is getting Titans fans all, happy and their pants are getting shorter is King Henry is back. Do you have any doubt that King Henry is ready to come back and dominate?
No doubt in my mind whatsoever. I don't know about dominate, but no doubt in my mind that he's ready to come back because they have made such a long-term investment in him. What, they get 4 years, $64 million or something like that. They are locked in with him for a long time. There is no way in hell they're bringing him back unless he's 100% ready to play. So I don't know about dominate because it's tough to come back and dominate when you haven't played for 7 or 8 weeks, but he's definitely ready to play.
I'm going to say, yes, he is ready to come back and dominate. I'm not going to say he is going to come back and dominate, but I think he's ready to come back and dominate. This guy is a freak of nature. Well, this guy's workout routine is ridiculous. And I guarantee you that as soon as he was able to walk and run again, he was out there training on the hills. He was out there pulling sleds. He was out there doing the things that King Henry has done that have made him King Henry. And so, look, the Titans lean heavily on him. The Titans can be down by 2 touchdowns. They are still handing off the ball 10 times on a 15-play drive. That's how much the Titans lean on King Henry. I think King Henry is ready to come back and dominate. So I'm going with the yes there as well. What does this game mean for the future of the Bengals, though? This is a team that just won its first playoff game since before text messages were invented. This is a team that, fans, and I've said this before, so rule the jungle if you're out there, if you're still watching. I've said this before. This fan base deserves this team that they have, and they're going to be good for a long time. What does this mean for the future of the Bengals?
I don't think it really means anything for the future of the Bengals. And the reason for that is because they've already won the playoff game in Burrow's second year. So win or lose, I mean, if they win this game, great. It's just gravy on top of the potatoes. But they've already got the potatoes. So basically, at this point, anything is extra. If they lose, Bengals fans can still go home and be like, hey, all right, man. I feel good about this, this team. But if they win, then it's like, all right, I feel good about getting smacked by the Chiefs.
Yeah. Yeah, look, you go and you play against a team like the Tennessee Titans, and if you don't come out victorious, it's the number 1 seed. You had to go into their home. I feel like sometimes teams arrive a year too early, right? We talk about it a lot in baseball. You look at the Cubs in 2015. You look at the White Sox this year. You look at the Kansas City Royals of 2014. You look at those teams that that arrive just a little bit earlier. They play a little bit above where you expected them to be. And then the next year, they're ready to really go out there because now they have the experience. Now they've got, it under their belt. They've got the division crown under their belt. They've got the playoffs under their belt. Now they're ready to go out and take that next step. So if you don't make the AFC title game this year, I think Bengals fans are still happy with the way the season went. I think Bengals fans are upset that they lost in the divisional round and wish they would have made the AFC title game. But I think that they're okay with how the season went. And I think that the Bengals are a team that will continue to be good for probably at least the next 5 or 6 years. They're going to be a mainstay in the NFC North, or AFC North, I should say. So what are your Bengals keys to victory?
You want to know what my favorite matchup is going to be?
Oh, I'm sorry. What's your favorite matchup?
It's going to be the Bengals defense versus King Henry because I want to see how he does. I mean, this is a guy that when he was healthy, he was running for 197 yards and 4 touchdowns a game, just killing people. Yeah, I love the statistic that back in high school, I think his senior year of high school alone, he had like 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns in just 1 year. I mean, he is a monster. However, the Titans have been playing the second half of the season cutting vegetables with a spoon. So now they're getting a razor sharp knife. Yeah, that's much better than a spoon, but you're kind of easing your way into it. So I don't think he's going to have that big of an impact. So I'm curious to watch that matchup.
Yeah, look, the matchup that I'm looking most forward to is going to be Joe Burrow versus the Tennessee Titans defense. How does Joe Burrow establish a relationship with Jamar Chase in this game versus this Titans defense that is very stingy, especially when they're in Tennessee? It's going to be that matchup right there. What Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase do to the Titans defense is going to determine the outcome of this game, because if you can put up 30 points on this Tennessee Titans team, you're going to win. I think that's the magic number. I think Derrick Henry is good for 3 touchdowns on his own. So I think you have to get to at least 30. And that's where it's at. It's got to be in that Jamar Chase or Joe Burrow connection. And can they beat the Tennessee defense? So what is your key to victory for the Cincinnati Bengals?
Shut down the run. I mean, make Tannehill beat you, because I don't think he can. I don't care what he did the second half of the season without Henry. I think you shut down Henry, you shut down the Tennessee run game, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, see, the key to victory for the Bengals for me is what I just said, which is Joe Burrow's. He's got to have a good game. He cannot turn the ball over. He's got to have a clean game on the stat sheet. He's got to be able to hit Jamar Chase. He's got to be able to hit his wide open receivers. He's got to be able to check down when needed, and he's got to be able to read those blitzes, because we know the Tennessee Titans love to blitz at you from every angle. So to me, it's Joe Burrow. What is your Titans' key to victory?
Got to keep the pressure on Joe Burrow. I mean, this is a guy who, before he got hurt last year, was on pace to shatter David Carr's sack record, where he was getting sacked 5.5, 6 times a game, and he did not like it, and he was taking a beating. Put that kind of pressure on him. Put that kind of pressure on their offensive line. Their offensive line is crazy revamped, so it's a lot tougher. But I think that if you can get to Joe Burrow, that's what you need to do.
Yeah, and my key to victory is the opposite of your key to victory for the Bengals, and that's the run. You've got to get King Henry rolling. You've got to let him eat, and you've got to keep the ball out of Ryan Tannehill's hands. You do not want Ryan Tannehill to have to get into a shootout with the Cincinnati Bengals, because that's not Ryan Tannehill's game, and he will make the crucial turnover when you need him to complete a pass. I don't trust Ryan Tannehill, just like you don't trust Ryan Tannehill. Looks like Alpha Rob is saying he doesn't like Ryan Tannehill. So that, to me, is the key to victory. Who do you got winning, and what's the score?
Bengals 24-17.
Bengals 24-17. So you think they do stop the run then, huh?
I do. I don't think that Derrick Henry, like I said, he's not ready to come back and dominate. He's just ready to come back and play.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. A lot of people love seeing the Cincinnati Bengals. A lot of people love what this team is doing. I love what this team is doing. I, too, am on the Cincinnati Bengals in this game. I think that like I said, the key is to get to 30. I think that they win this game 31-24, and it's going to come on a interception by Ryan Tannehill late in the game as they need a touchdown to get back into it. And the Cincinnati Bengals defense is going to seal it. So 31-24, Cincinnati.
I think we've had the same spread for every game.
Yeah, that's the first game we've actually picked the same winner. Yeah. So let's get to it. This is the game of the weekend, right? I mean, this is the game that everybody is looking forward to, I think. I think this is the game of the week. I think that this is probably going to have the best ratings of any game of the weekend. And you've got Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen. You got the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills. This is a marquee matchup. And for me, I can't wait. I can't wait for any game this weekend, but this game to me is the most exciting. This is the only Super Bowl pick that I have preseason that is still alive. So I'm riding the Bills hard here. Should the Chiefs be the favorites in this game?
Yeah, so I'm gonna start off by saying I think the game of the week is the Bucks and the Rams personally, because I'm one of those New England fans who's rooting for Tom Brady now.
Oh, you're one of those.
Yeah,
guys.
Apparently I'm one of those guys who it's not okay to root for your favorite player who's still left. But no, yeah, should they be favorites? I mean, that's a silly question. Of course they should. They're at home. Patrick Mahomes just threw for 5 touchdowns last week. They absolutely should be favorites. Now, listen, Buffalo's not the Steelers. I understand that. But you're playing in Arrowhead. You're playing with who I've said is a top 3 quarterback in that top tier. You absolutely should be the favorites in this game.
Look, I'm not so certain that they should be the favorites in this game. And if they are the favorites in this game, it shouldn't be by more than 1 point. I know it's Arrowhead. I know it's the postseason. But earlier this season, the Buffalo Bills walked into Arrowhead and they manhandled the Chiefs. They've shown that they can beat the Chiefs at home in Arrowhead, and people are like, "Oh, well, it's the playoffs now." To me, that's a fan's mentality, right? Because it's the same fan base in the same stands in the same stadium. It's just a different month, okay? And yes, I know a little bit more is on the line than there is in week 7 when they played earlier this season. The Buffalo Bills, to me, are the best team in the AFC. I don't think that there's a team better than them right now. I really don't. I think that this front 7 for the Bills is a top 3 in all of the game. I think that Josh Allen is a top 5 quarterback in the game right now. There is nothing for me that says that the Buffalo Bills should be an underdog in this game, let alone by more than 1 point. I would have them favored. I would pick them to be a favorite by at least 3 in this game. And for all those reasons said, that's where I would go with it. I get what you're saying with Kansas City playoffs, what they did last week, different team than they were in week 7 when they played the Bills. I get all that, but it's not like the Bills are a chump walking in here. This is a very good Bills team.
No, I don't think they should be an underdog by like 2 touchdowns, but I think a 1 point underdog, 2 point underdog, that's completely fair.
What about my other statement that I just said? I think Josh Allen's the top 5 quarterback in this game right now. Are you there with him?
Yeah, I mean, I think unlike a lot of what you say, you can make a case for it. And I think that, I figure if I put the quarterbacks into tiers, the first tier is Brady, Mahomes, Rodgers. Those are the top. That's tier 1. Nobody else is on that tier. Then you have tier 2, and tier 2 is going to be Herbert, Stafford, Kyler Murray, Dak, Burrow, and Josh Allen. So you've got a total there of 9 quarterbacks you can choose from.
Do you think Josh Allen's on the same level as Dak? And you think Burrow's already there too?
Yeah, I think those guys are all on the same level. You look at their statistics; they're all statistically on the same level. And you look at what they can do talent-wise. You're a big fan of the eye test. I mean, watch Joe Burrow and tell me he's not on the same level as Josh Allen. I mean, his talent is insane, ridiculously insane.
Yeah, I just think that it's I think what Allen has been able to do with the Buffalo Bills, over the last 3 seasons is
last 2 seasons.
Well, yeah, last 2 seasons. I guess his rookie year wasn't so great, but
he's been in the league 4 years, so his first 2 years weren't that great.
Did he play much his rookie year though? I don't think he did.
He was a starter.
Was he?
Yeah.
He was a rookie starter?
Yeah.
I thought he sat behind, what's his face?
He finished the
Tyrod
season.
Taylor for a year.
No, maybe a few games, but he finished the season with
Okay.
completing 58% of his passes.
Okay. I mean, this is a guy who threw for 36 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, 4,000 yards. I like Josh Allen a lot. I think he's a top 5. I don't really – I mean, I guess you could put him in tiers, but I think that if you start going, and ranking them 1 through 10, like
he's in the top 10.
I see. I have him in the top 5. I have, I'm with you. Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes. Those guys are on a level of their own. I got Deshaun Watson at 4, and I got Josh Allen at 5 right now.
Oh, see, I didn't have Deshaun Watson. So, yeah, I guess there's 10 quarterbacks you could choose from. But, yeah, I mean, what about Justin Herbert? I mean, you can put Justin Herbert in that. The guy's for 5,000 yards.
I don't think.
More touchdowns, less interceptions. Is it only it's the second year? I mean, he's the second-year starter.
Yeah, and he was really good his rookie year, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess maybe you could put him on that level.
And if you put him there, you have to put Burrow there.
You don't think Justin Herbert has done more than Burrow in his first 2 seasons? I mean, Burrow was showing signs of being right, but Burrow was showing signs of being good, but they still weren't a very good football team under Burrow his rookie year. I believe they were 2-7 his first 9 games before he got hurt.
I'm looking at their
I mean, you're looking at exactly like you said, completion percentage, yardage. What Burrow had, even if you just took their first 9 games, so what Justin Herbert was doing, who didn't even start. I think it was week 3 when Tyrod Taylor's lung got punctured by Herbert's uncle, who was the doctor. I just don't think that. I don't think that Burrow. I like Joe Burrow. I really do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting him there with Herbert and Allen just yet. And I put Burrow ahead of Dak though.
See, I don't put Burrow again. They're on the same tier, so you can flip them. When I say they're on the same tier, you can flip them. But I think Dak Prescott's another guy. Again, last year before he got hurt, he was averaging 350 yards a game passing. This year he came out, he had 3,800 yards. He had a good year. I mean, and he doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. Like Dak isn't an interception machine. I think he had 33 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. So very similar to what Josh Allen put up, very similar to what Burrow put up. So I think he had more weapons, although maybe not. I don't know. He had the head coach was an idiot, but but I think that he's on that same tier. That's why I'm saying I'm not putting him ahead of him. I'm just saying they're all kind of on that same level together.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow had that. His passer rating is last year was only an 89.8, and that takes away all of the other stuff that we were talking about. I mean, you look at a passer rating of 89.8, and to me, that it pushes him off a little bit for me. But that's I'm not saying, and again, that's not a slight against Joe Burrow, because I still have him as a top 7 quarterback in the league. So it's not like I'm sliding the guy, but I think that Allen and Herbert are just a tick above him at this point. Getting back to this game here, what matchup do you like the most?
Mahomes versus the Bills defense. I think that's going to be really fun to watch. I think that Bills defense is insane. I mean, they fly all over the field. They are fast. That said, I think Mahomes puts up some pretty good numbers, probably 3 or 4 touchdowns this game. I just don't think they can stop him, but they are fast, and I think it'll be fun to watch.
So I don't say this statement a lot, but Buck had an interesting take the other day. And that interesting take was the key to stopping Patrick Mahomes is keeping him in the pocket as opposed to letting him get out of the pocket. Do you agree with that?
If you pressure him, if you just let him sit back there, that's dumb. And I'm going to tell you this. I don't know if I've told this story before. I went to basketball camp. I got to meet Don Nelson, who's a Hall of Fame basketball coach. And he told a great story at basketball camp about this. And this is what I think was to keep him in the pocket, right? Because Mahomes. Is
this your one time at basketball camp story?
Sure. My one time at basketball camp. No flutes. But
no flutes? All right.
No. But Don Nelson said that they're
so
playing
what did you stick in your pussy? I don't want to know. Never mind. Right, go ahead.
We're going to have track it. We'll save that for Would You Rather next time.
All right, perfect.
So I was talking with Don Nelson, and Don Nelson said that they played the Chicago Bulls, and Michael Jordan had scored like 37, 38 points on them, and 5 guys fouled out trying to guard him. And so he said, I got this great idea. Next time we played Jordan, I said, listen, guys, just let him shoot as much as he wants. Like, don't foul him at all. Let him take as many open shots as he wants. And that's the key. And he set a record for most points scored in our stadium. So when I think of the philosophy of like, if you want to shut down Patrick Mahomes, yeah, let him have all the time in the world. I don't think so. I don't think that's the right answer.
So if you pressure him and pressure him in the pocket, you feel like you got a better chance than if you pressure him and let him roll out.
Yeah, don't let him roll, because rolling out, you're toast. I mean, nobody throws better on the run than Patrick Mahomes. So
yeah,
don't let him roll out. Pressure him, make him step up in the pocket, but still have to get rid of it fast. I think if you keep him in the pocket and you still give him 4 or 5 seconds, you're done.
Okay. So the matchup I'm most interested in seeing is the same one that you're most interested in seeing. So that's kind of boring there. I didn't have anything else prepared. I have the same thing. Look, this Buffalo Bills front seven, like I've said, I think is a top 3 in all of the NFL. And I really want to see how they handle Patrick Mahomes. I want to see how they attack all the weapons that Mahomes has and still contain Mahomes. Can you do that? Can you do that in Arrowhead? Can you do that in the playoffs? Can you compete with what this Kansas City Chiefs offense is going to bring? It remains to be seen. And so that's the matchup I'm most interested in. It's going to be such a fun game to watch. What is your key to victory for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Or they're going to Tampa Bay and Kansas City. I'm already thinking ahead of the Super Bowl. What is your key to victory for the Buffalo Bills?
It is, do not let Patrick Mahomes go off. Like I said, you got to contain him somehow. I don't know if that's 2 or 3 interceptions. I don't know if that's sacking him or whatever it is. You cannot let him go off, because if he goes off like he did against the Steelers with 404 and 5, on 21 of 28 passing or whatever it was, obviously that's a losing stat line.
Yeah. My key to victory for the Buffalo Bills is don't try to do too much on defense. Play your game. Do what you do best and shut this team down, because this Kansas City offense, and I've said this all season long, is not the same offense that they have been over the last 3 or 4 years. And I know that they just put a hurting on the Pittsburgh Steelers, but the Pittsburgh Steelers were a middle-of-the-road defense at best. I think they were ranked 16th this season. Like, they were not a top-tier defense. And when the Kansas City Chiefs have played a top-tier defense this year, they don't put up points. They struggle. And do the things that you do best. Disguise your blitzes. Do what you guys do, and you're going to be just fine. What is your Kansas City Chiefs key to victory?
Offensive line against the Bills' defensive line. You've got to not let them get to your quarterback.
Yeah. My key to victory here is going to be Byron Pringle, because he's the guy that is going to sneak up on you. He is the guy that you don't game plan for, and he finds a way to beat you. And lately, when the Kansas City Chiefs have been able to pick up their offense, Byron Pringle has been having some huge games. And he is the one that needs to get going for the Kansas City Chiefs. If he starts rolling and they start racking up the yardage with Byron Pringle, that's going to open up a lot of things for the Kansas City Chiefs offense. See what I did there? Pringle, open, get it? Open up a can. Never mind. Once you pop, you can't stop. Anyway. Who do you got winning, and what's the score?
Chiefs 31-20.
I am going with the Buffalo Bills, and I am going Buffalo 27-20. I think that the Buffalo Bills are just I just think that they defensively, I think they're going to be able to stop Kansas City. I think they're going to frustrate Kansas City. I think that they are going to be up 27-13 with about 3 minutes to go in the game. I think Kansas City is going to try to make a run. They're going to put the ball in the end zone with about a minute and a half to go, and then they're going to miss the onside kick. And that's how this one's going to end. It's not going to be as close as the score dictates. I think the Buffalo Bills will roll this one, and Alpha Rob will be happy that I just made that pick.
Yeah, see, I think the Chiefs are going all the way to the Super Bowl, and that'll be back to back for Mahomes.
It will be. It'll be 3 in a row for Mahomes. 4 years in the league and 3 Super Bowls. He's well on to pace with Brady.
Except he'll have to face Brady, and I think he'll lose again.
Yeah, I think it's too hard to sustain. And I don't think he'll be facing Brady because I think Brady gets knocked out this weekend too. I think Brady and Mahomes both get knocked out this weekend, which is mayhem in the NFL. So I don't know, what this weekend's going to bring. I do know that we only picked one team in common to win this weekend. So, I mean, we're going to see. We're going to see at the end of the next week when we get into our conference championship picks, where it's going to be bragging rights because somebody's going to have a good weekend, somebody's going to have a bad weekend, and we'll see what happens. So we're going to get to another break and give us 2 minutes. We'll be back with some AFC over-under. Get them betting books ready again. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. Chat is blowing up. Alpha Rob does not like that you don't think that Josh Allen is a top-tier quarterback. He said they have 4,000 yards passing this year, over 750 yards rushing. How is that not top tier?
Oh, well, did he have Lamar Jackson in the top tier when he had 3,500 yards passing and 1,500 yards rushing? I mean, it doesn't really matter to me that he had the 750 rushing. I'm saying I've watched this guy a lot. I'm an AFC East guy. I've watched Mahomes, and again, look at who we're comparing him against. It's not a knock on Allen. Like I said, Allen could be the 4th best quarterback in the league. He also could be 10th because I have him on that second tier. But I mean, are you really going to say that Josh Allen is on the same level as Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes? Like, he's not. I don't care what he did this year. He's not in that same level.
And then Havoc6927 comes up with a stat that I did not know. Let's see if you knew this. Did you guys see that Vrabel is 8-0 with 8 days or more to prepare for an opponent with a point differential of 18.7?
I love baseball stats. Last season, I led this club in 9th inning doubles in the month of August.
So that stat doesn't matter to you then?
No.
Because you're only 8-0 until somebody beats you, right?
Well, 8-0 with 8 days rest is like, all right, that's interesting. but 8-0 with 8 days rest and an 18.7 differential. What's his record with 8 days rest? Is it 8-5? Because the other 5 games didn't have that differential.
No. He's saying he's 8-0 with more than 8 days rest, and the point differential they beat a team on average of 18.7.
Oh, okay. I thought he was saying with like
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is an interesting stat then.
Yeah, that is a la Bill Belichick, right? Bill Belichick does not lose coming off of bye weeks usually. And usually coming off of bye weeks, he will destroy you.
Well, off a loss too.
And Vrabel is of that ilk. So that's an interesting stat to me. Very interesting. So let's get into some over-unders here for the AFC playoffs. Are you ready?
Yep, let's do it.
All right. First one here, over-under 20 carries for Derrick Henry.
It's under. It's going to be the same issue with the Bucs and the Rams, which is that the Bengals are going to go up early, and then Ryan Tannehill is going to have to try to win the game.
I'm going to go over. Look, even when the Titans are trailing, they hand the ball to Derrick Henry. I've watched it multiple times. I watched it in that win that they had against Buffalo. I watched it in the another victory. I believe it was against the Baltimore Ravens, where they were down by 20 points or 10 points or whatever the case was. They were down big, and they handed the ball off to Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry brought them back to those victories. It was not Ryan Tannehill engineering drives. It was hand the ball to Derrick Henry and let him just run wild. And that's exactly what he did. That's what the Titans need to do to win this game, is they need to continue to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry, even when they're trailing. And that's their philosophy, and I believe that they're going to do that. I think you're going to see 25 to 30 carries for Derrick Henry, even coming off an injury.
Yeah, 30 carries is bananas.
I don't think it is.
Okay.
All right, over under. I know where you're going with this one. Over under 1.5 interceptions for Ryan Tannehill.
I have under just one for him, but it's going to be a crucial one.
Yeah, that's why I'm going over. I think he'll throw one at some point, probably early first quarter-ish, trying to do too much after the Bengals score, and then he's going to throw another one, like I said earlier, in a crucial moment when they need it the most, and he's going to throw an interception there as well. And so I'm going over.
All
right. Over under 51 points in the Bengals versus Titans game.
It's under. I had this thing 24-17. That's 41. So that's under 51.
Yeah. See, I had this one at 31 to 24. So I am going over. I've got them at 55 points. Again, I think the key to beating the Titans is putting up 30 points, because I think Derrick Henry is good for 3 touchdowns. So I'm going 31-24, going over. Over under 300 yards passing for Josh Allen.
Over. I think he throws over against that Kansas City team. Josh Allen, he can air it out. He's got the big arm. He might have 2 picks, maybe 2 touchdowns, 2 picks or something like that. But I think he throws for over 300 yards.
Okay. I'm going to go over as well. I think that Josh Allen has a very solid game. I think that they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that Josh Allen is everything he is advertised to be. I'm going over. Over under 4.5 catches for Dawson Knox.
Over, because I think that the middle of the field is going to be open. I think Kansas City takes away the edges, and so you're going to see a lot of those, again, passes to the running backs and to the tight ends.
Yeah, see, I'm going to go over as well. Dawson Knox is usually getting about 9 to 10 targets a game. He is one of those guys that Josh Allen really leans on, especially down the middle of the field. And so I'm going to go over 4.5 catches for Dawson Knox. Over under 4.5 catches for Travis Kelce.
I went over again. Again, this is going to be a high-powered offense. I think he's one of your top 2 targets. Tight ends get open easier than wide receivers, so I think that he's probably going to have the most receptions for the Chiefs.
Yeah, as much as I want to go under here, because I think he's going to be a focal point for the defense of the Buffalo Bills, I just don't think, no matter how much of a focal point you are, a lot like Rob Gronkowski, you just can't stop him from getting his catches. And so I'm going to go over here. He's probably going to have somewhere around 5 or 6 catches. So I'm going with the over. Last one here. Over under 350 passing yards for Patrick Mahomes.
I went under on this one. This Bills defense is not the Steelers defense, so they are not going to give up 400 yards to him. I have him somewhere between 295 and 315, so he might break 300 just like Allen, but I don't think he gets to 350.
Yeah, I don't think he gets to 350 either. I think this Buffalo Bills defense does a great job of containing him. I think a lot like I think with the Los Angeles Rams versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think it's going to be a frustrating night for Patrick Mahomes. I think he's going to have to, force the ball into some bad situations. I think he's going to have to throw the ball, into the ground a lot. I think he's going to throw the ball out of bounds a lot. I think he's going to get chased around the pocket. And so I'm going under as well. So, a couple things I want to get to here. We got a lot of stuff going on in the chat. Drew says Kelsey and Hill will be double teamed, which leaves Pringle and Hardman open. And if Pringle and Hardman become successful, that forces adjustments, and then Kelsey and Hill start out.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. I mean, what Bill Belichick has done classically when he plays against teams that have that star like this is he takes away your best player. He'll put a safety over the top on your best player, and that guy's just nullified for the whole game. So it's picking your poison. I don't think you can double team both of those guys. I think if you double team Hill and Kelsey, even if you completely take both those guys out of the game, then Patrick Mahomes does get that 400 yards because you're leaving some people really wide open. So you can only double team one of them. It's probably going to be Hill, and that's why Kelsey's going to get his catches.
Yeah, see, I think that the Bills' defense is talented enough that they're not going to double team anybody. I think that the Bills
that's a nightmare then.
No, I think the Bills defense is good enough and talented enough that they're not going to have to double team these guys and allow these guys to get open. They're good enough to stop these guys all the way around. So I think that, look, Drew's a Kansas City fan. So I think Drew is hoping upon hope that that's what happens. And it's quite possible that it does happen. It is quite possible that does that. Look, the Kansas City Chiefs are a very good football team. Patrick Mahomes is a very good quarterback. I just think that the Buffalo Bills defense is a little bit better.
Yeah, if the Chiefs choose not to double team either of those guys, you might as well just turn this game off at halftime, everybody.
Really? You think so?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Mahomes will kill them if they don't double one of those guys.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll find out. Alpha Rob says, you're a Belichick guy, Wayne. Mahomes' struggle versus his defense, and Allen kills Belichick defense in 4 out of 5.
All right. Oh, so this is like the argument that he's on the same level as Mahomes?
He's on the same level as Mahomes because he struggles versus Belichick's defense, but Josh Allen has killed Belichick's defense in 4 out of the 5 games that he's faced him.
Yeah, again, I don't really, because it's two different teams playing two different teams. It's two different sets of weapons playing two different sets of weapons. I mean, it's not the same thing. I'm just talking about straight up quarterback ability. And again, Alpha Rob, I'm not taking anything away from Josh Allen. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's a lot better than I thought he was at the start of the season. I just don't think he's on the same level as Patrick Mahomes. That's all. I mean, if you do, great. I'm not going to say, anything bad about you, but I think that there's a little bit of homerism in there. Just like I think, Josh McDaniels is the best offensive coordinator in football, right? Because I'm a Patriots fan.
Right. And that's so like we were talking about this before the show, right? Like where I think that it's so hard to compare players in different eras, right? Would Barry Bonds have been as feared of a hitter if he played in Babe Ruth's era? Would Babe Ruth have been as solid of a hitter if he played in Barry Bonds' era? Would Wilt Chamberlain be as good if he played in the 80s and 90s where you could absolutely destroy each other on any given night? Those are the types of things that are hard to determine because it's different eras, right? And in that same argument, these are different teams. Like just because, I mean, if you look at it that way, you could look at, hey, the Bears swept the Lions this season, right? But who did the Lions beat? So the Bears, the Lions beat a top team. So that means that the Bears should have been a top 3 team in this league because they swept the Lions. The Lions beat you can't go off of that. You can't go off of, hey, the Bears played tough against the Steelers. So, and they probably should have beat them if it wasn't for referee error. So the Bears should have been a playoff team this year. That's not how it goes. You can't compare one team stats versus a team against another team's stats versus a team, because we've said it before. I've said it a lot. There's so much parity in this league that you can't do that. Any given team on any given week can have the other team's number.
Well, it's not a simple math equation. I know if A is greater than B and B is greater than C, then A is greater than C. But that's not the case in football, because maybe A and B match up differently than A and C do. So that's why it's a different. It's not the same as math.
So let's get into that argument a little bit. We talked about Russell Westbrook earlier, and I know you wanted to get into this, and we kind of skipped over it because we were up against a break there. And one of the the things that we were talking about was like big men in the league, Joel Embiid had 20 or 27 minutes played, and he had 50 points. So I mean that's pretty damn good. For those of you that don't know much about basketball, that's pretty damn good. And my question is, should he be considered a top player in the NBA right now?
Yeah, he absolutely should. And I've said that he's the best center I've ever seen play. Better than Shaquille O'Neal, better than Hakeem Olajuwon, better than Robinson, in terms of his talent, right? Like in terms of his ball handling, his shooting ability. His back to the basket game is on point. I mean, he doesn't have any weaknesses other than, well, two things. One is his availability, which has been better the past couple seasons. He stayed pretty healthy. But the second thing has been his motivation. And there's definitely some games where he seems like he's just coasting and he isn't really trying. But when Joel Embiid tries, I don't know if there is a better player in the NBA. Not Giannis, not LeBron, not KD. I think Joel Embiid is the best player in the NBA when he decides to play.
So you're one of those guys, too, that has Wilt Chamberlain as the greatest player of all time. You got him above Jordan. You got him above LeBron. You got him above Kobe. You got him above all these guys. Is Joel Embiid on the same level as Wilt Chamberlain?
No. I mean, nobody is. I mean, because then I'm saying that Joel Embiid's the greatest player of all time, right? And I'm not saying that. And I think nobody's on the same level as Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, we talk about just straight up dominance, and all you gotta do is look at was it March 18th, 1968 versus the Lakers, his quintuple double when he had 53, 32, 14 assists, 11 steals, and 24 block shots. I mean, nobody's putting up those kind of numbers against anybody. That just it's insanity. 40-40 career games. That's 40 points and 40 rebounds in the same game. 40-40 career games. He has 8. Second place, everyone's tied with 0. 30-30 games, he's got 129. Second place, 3. So, I mean, his dominance is just ridiculous. If he played today, he'd be the best player in the NBA today.
Now, we talked about this again. We talked about this pre-show. We've had this conversation quite a bit because I disagree. Obviously, being a Chicago guy, to me, Jordan's the GOAT. Jordan will always be the GOAT. Jordan changed the game, right? He changed the way the game was played. He kind of in the same way where to me, I heard this argument the other day, kind of the same way that Steph Curry changed the game, right? Steph Curry's on that level of you got to put him in the conversation of greatest players of all time, which I disagree with, by the way. We'll save that conversation for another time. Wilt Chamberlain playing in the 80s and 90s against the bad boy Pistons, playing against the teams, playing against Hakeem Olajuwon, playing against Shaq, playing against guys that are either bigger than him or guys that are allowed to hammer you, guys that can punch you in the mouth. And it's the old adage, right? Everybody is, great until they can get punched in the mouth. And then how do you respond from that? Is Wilt Chamberlain's athleticism, are his numbers, the 40 points and 40 rebounds, are they magnified because of lesser talent that he was playing against in his era? Was he just so far ahead of his time? And the talent around him, the talent that he played against and that he played with, was just so far inferior that it magnified his numbers, magnified his game, magnified what he meant to the legacy of the NBA.
Yeah, I think so, to a degree. I mean, we talked about it. Wilt Chamberlain is probably the greatest athlete in the history of the NBA. He's in the case for the greatest athlete in the history of all sports. I mean, his athleticism was off the charts, 7 feet tall, 44-inch vertical, 450-pound bench press. He ran the 100 meters in college in 11 seconds. If you watch old videotapes of him, he's the first guy up the floor, like faster than all the guards. And that's the thing when people talk about, like, oh, if he went up against Shaquille O'Neal, first of all, he's stronger than Shaquille O'Neal. The most Shaq ever benched was 375. So he's stronger than Shaq. And he's faster than Steve Nash. Like, he would get up the floor faster than any of the guards. So can you imagine Shaquille O'Neal trying to keep up with him? By the second quarter, he'd have a heart attack.
Yeah, and I mean, look, one of the reasons why I go here is because you look at the top 50 players of all time list, right? And how many of those players played in Wilt Chamberlain's era?
A handful. Yeah, I mean, you got Russell,
a
Oscar
handful.
Robertson.
How many of those players played in Jordan's era?
Again,
a lot more than a handful. No, there's a lot more than a handful. You're probably looking closer to about 4 or 5 handfuls that played in Jordan's era. And that's where I'm getting at, where should the fact that he played in a time where the talent around him was so far less versus Jordan, who played in a time where the talent was closer to his level than it was to the opposite, and he changed the game, shouldn't that weigh into whether or not Wilt is thought of as the greatest player of all time?
Well, first of all, they did change the game for both guys. Don't make it seem like Wilt didn't change the game. There was no 3-second rule before Wilt was there. You could throw the ball over the backboard. You can't do that anymore. They made that rule because of Wilt Chamberlain. I think offensive goaltending or defensive goaltending, one of them was because of Wilt Chamberlain. So basically, and it's funny because Wilt Chamberlain had that conversation with Michael Jordan. They talked to each other, and Wilt actually said to him, he said, they changed the rules of the game to make it harder for me. They changed the rules of the game to make it easier for you.
Yeah. And I get that argument, but again, you had a guy who was very dominant. Again, who was the second best player of Wilt Chamberlain's era?
Again, he played against a bunch. Let's say Bill Russell, because he's the one he's always compared against.
Okay, so where's Bill Russell on your all-time list? Top 10, top 20, top 30?
See, Boston fans absolutely hate me for this. So I have Bill Russell around 25.
Okay. So you have his toughest talent is still in the top 50. His toughest, competitor is still in the top 50. Bill Russell is I'm with you on Bill Russell. Boston fans hate talking to me about Bill Russell because I'm with you. I don't think that Bill Russell was. I think Bill Russell was a great complementary piece on a great team. Mm-hmm. And I don't look. That's not a knock again. I mean, you still got the guy in the top 50 greatest players of all time. And there's been a lot of players play this game. I just think in that era, in the era where Wilt was dominating, the talent pool is so far less than the talent pool of when Jordan was playing. So far less. I mean, you look at guys in the NBA top 50. I mean, Jordan was playing against Larry Bird. Jordan was playing against Charles Barkley. Jordan was playing against Shaq. Jordan was playing against Clyde Drexler. He played against Patrick Ewing. He played against, trying to think of some other names that are on there. Magic Johnson's on there. Karl Malone's on there. And these guys are, Hakeem Olajuwon's another one. Like, these guys are just players that transcended, and they all played in an era in which nobody could beat Michael Jordan. No, nobody was beating Michael Jordan in the 90s except for retirement.
You mean no one was beating his teams, or you mean no one was beating him individually?
All right, it's fine. Nobody was beating Michael Jordan-led teams.
Okay. Nobody was beating Bill Russell's team, so why isn't he number one?
Bill Russell's teams?
Yeah.
What do you mean nobody was beating his teams?
His teams won way more than Michael Jordan's teams. In fact, I'd say twice as many times as Michael Jordan's teams.
Again, you go back into that era and you look at that. That's why for me, I have to take into account the talent levels that were playing around those teams and those guys. And those guys were ahead of their time. And it's not to take away from their athleticism. And it's not to take away from how good they were and their legacy, because they are. Look, I think I've got Will Chamberlain at 2. Okay, you've got Will Chamberlain at 1. Could it possibly be? I mean, we've had the argument before. Bonds in Jordan. Are you or Bonds and Ruth? I have Bonds and Ruth. I have Bonds 1, Ruth 2. You have Bonds 1A, Ruth Ruth 1A, Bonds 1B.
Right.
Is this something where you would accept somebody's list if they had Jordan 1A, Wilt 1B?
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to crap on anybody for having Michael Jordan number 1. Like, I totally get it. I mean, I'm just giving my reasons why I have Wilt number 1. What blows my mind is when people put their list together and they have Wilt outside the top 10. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, that's stupid. That's just somebody who's just putting a list together and they only put in people that they've watched before
People
they get to
born
people that
after
they didn't watch.
1985.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, that's crazy to me. So we're getting up against it here. One thing I want to get back real quick before we do get off the mics here is, one of the arguments that I heard on the radio, which I was irate about, which I've had this argument with you before, was we used to always have the argument talking about LeBron and LeBron's legacy. And one of the things I used to argue all the time was, I'm not even so sure that LeBron is as good as Kobe, let alone Michael Jordan. So I always used to say, stop comparing him to Michael Jordan because he's not even Kobe. So I heard that argument today on the radio. Somebody else said it, and I was mad because I've been saying it for years. And do you think that LeBron is a better basketball player than Kobe Bryant was?
I do. I have LeBron 3rd all time. I have Kobe 5th all time. So it's not like there's a huge gap between. Kareem is the gap between them,
Yeah.
But I think that in terms of talent and overall skill and what they do, I would rather have Kobe. Like if I'm building a team, because Kobe had that fire, he was going to make you better. He was just going to play his heart out. I'd rather have him. But in terms of just like flat out skill, I'm going with LeBron.
So, and one of the ways that they pointed it out was, name me the things that LeBron does better than Kobe Bryant. And facilitator is one of them. Clearly a better passer. Kobe just didn't pass the ball. I mean, that was just one of those things. And better rebounder, as you pointed out prior to the show. But Kobe was a top defensive player all time. Kobe was a beast on the defensive side of the ball. Kobe could shoot. I think Kobe is right there with LeBron. Look, LeBron can make the ball from anywhere on the court with his eyes closed. Like this guy is a freak of nature when it comes to shooting the ball. I think Kobe was right there with him. I think Kobe and him in a shooting contest to me would be a phenomenal watch, right? I don't think that he's that far. I don't think he's that far. I don't even have him above Kobe Bryant on my all-time list. I think that Kobe Bryant is a better all-around basketball player. So let me ask you this then, because you think you would have you have LeBron 3 all-time and Kobe 5 all-time. If you needed a guy to win you one game to win a champion, you taking Kobe or you taking LeBron?
I'm taking Kobe. Like I said, he's a killer. So I'm taking Kobe. But if you say I can pick one of those guys to build my franchise around, it's LeBron.
See, I'm still going Kobe.
Because a lot of times it doesn't come down to one game.
Yeah, but look, Kobe was a leader. LeBron's not a leader. Kobe was a guy. You disagree with that?
Yeah, I think LeBron's a leader.
When has he ever really been a leader on any of his team other than maybe those Cavalier teams where I don't think he's a leader. I don't think he's a leader on any of his teams. I think he's got the talent so people kind of follow and flock to where he's going, but I don't think he's that guy that elevates his teammates to be better than they were like Kobe and Jordan did.
Oh, no, he doesn't do that. But I'm saying as a leader, like how many times has he been called the head coach of his team, even though he's not actually the head coach?
Well, that's because I don't think that's more to his leadership as much as it is as to LeBron wants it his way or no way.
Well, he understands the game.
Right. Of course he understands the game. Look, he's a top 5 player of all time. Of course he understands the game. He's got his basketball IQ is far superior to what mine or yours will ever be. But I don't know that I one of the things, if you ask me to name, 5 things or 10 things or 20 things about LeBron James, characteristic wise, leader would not be one of them.
He leads differently than Kobe. So I don't want to mistake it like, oh, well, he leads differently, so he's not as good. Because Kobe led like Jordan did. Lead by example and lead with that fire and that passion, which, by the way, is very abrasive. Whereas LeBron is a softer guy, right? And that's okay sometimes with leadership. I think if you're going to say, hey, listen, I'm going to give you 4 crap players and one of those 2, who do you want? You want LeBron because he's going to turn those crap players into decent all-stars. Whereas with Kobe, you give him crap players, he's going to make them all kill themselves. So you need to give Kobe like at least one other guy who's a decent star and will listen to him.
No, I disagree. I think that Kobe can take a cast of players. I think that Kobe and Jordan both would have won championships with that first Cleveland team that LeBron was taking to the finals. I think both of them win championships with those teams.
If that was true, Kobe wouldn't have missed the playoffs with those Lakers teams after Shaq left.
He won a championship after Shaq left.
Not right away. They missed the playoffs after Shaq left. And he had Karam Butler, and he had some decent young players, but they weren't Shaq. They weren't, all-stars. So I think that Kobe needs to have other stars who understand. Pau Gasol, when they traded for Pau Gasol, they traded Kwame for Pau Gasol. That's when he started winning the championships because Gasol's a smart player too. Jordan and Kobe both need high IQ players to play with them. You can give LeBron 4 dummies, and he can take you to the finals because he's going to carry the load and he's going to make them all better. But that's why he loses in the finals because he doesn't have that secondary star. But I think a lot of that is his fault too because I don't think he meshes well with a secondary star because he's an omega pretending to be an alpha.
Russell Westbrook, for example.
Westbrook's an alpha.
Right, exactly. All right, so we're up against it here. We're going to get going here. So as always, thank you guys for joining. Why don't you go ahead and tell them where they can find you, Wayne?
All right, check us out. Facebook at Recasted Podcast, Twitter at Recasted Podcast. Join All Things Movies on Facebook and listen to Recasted Podcast or Recasted 2.0 on Good Pods. Give us 5 stars.
All right, and with that being said, Man Hour Nation, rise up.